TLDR. My mother-in-law's boyfriend is really mean to me. I addressed it and it seems like he is the cause of my relationship with her deteriorating and not participating with anything having to do with her future granddaughter. I, 28F, have been with my husband, 31 meters, now for 7 years but married for 4. My Mill and I have always seemingly have had a good relationship until I tried to talk her boyfriend about how he speaks to me. He is a really loud and harsh guy who thinks he can boss PPL around because even when he isn't on the clock, he's a cop. In early March my husband and I found out that we were expecting our first kid. This will be relevant later. And at my husband's birthday bonfire. It was sort of a last straw sort of thing for me where my MIL's BF yelled at me in front of everyone. I didn't want to ruin the party so I didn't address it then. But my twin sister and her fiancé were uncomfortable enough about it that they left. That following Monday, my husband encouraged me to have a sit-down with my MIL's BF and discuss how he treats me. He yells at me a lot, makes racial comments, tells me, men are speaking, and talks down about me being educated. He also pulls his gun out on one of the dogs. A lot and has punched him. Not something he's done to me but just want you all to have some background on this guy. This would not have been the first time I said something to him about his behavior towards me but the first time in a mediated setting. The entire time my husband supported what I was saying despite the BF trying to discredit me, but luckily my husband wasn't letting it go. One thing to know about my husband and I is that we are pretty even-tempered people and we communicate very well with each other. It's been a huge focus in our relationship. So if there is a disagreement, it's not necessarily a fight. We don't raise our voices at each other and we absolutely do not name-call or curse. We were hoping that my MIL's BF would be receptive as he has always said that if there's a problem, we can always speak freely so we can avoid any issues. We were wrong lol. In speaking with him I was told, I'm sorry but I am not going to change the way I speak for you. Because that would be fake, and a whole bunch of, I'm sorry but I'm not going to, type of things. My Mill chalked it up to me being too sensitive, and, that's just the way he is, or, you don't know what kind of life he's had. I explained to them both that most people do not function by screaming and insulting other adults and that this wasn't a behavior I wanted my future kiddo to grow up thinking was okay. Eventually after I made my case he stormed out of the conversation and left the house and left while I was still speaking. During the conversation he accused me of being a mooch and only coming around for gifts, which isn't true at all. This guy throws cash around like it's nothing and my husband and I have never accepted it when he offers. At the bonfire, he tried to toss a $100 bill in the pit on order to prove to all of us that money is nothing to him but my Mill snatched it from him. But I've never accepted anything from him that wasn't presented as a Xmas gift from my Mill and him. We also always buy Xmas gifts for everyone too. This is when tension started with my Mill and I. So, like I mentioned before, I am pregnant. My Mill was super excited about this as this will be her first grandchild until the conversation with her BF, who also tried to say that I'd keep the baby away from my Mill during that conversation. It turned into her calling us about her BF wanting to know if we hated him, blah blah blah. I told her I was willing to speak with him again, but that I was never offered an actual apology and that if he wanted to speak, he should reach out but I would not be making contact. My husband has the same feelings. Mind you, we've never really been ones to just text this guy to say hello in the first place, so it's not strange that we wouldn't have after the disagreement. My Mill started speaking to my husband and I less and less and more so choosing to see her BF over us, which is fine. We want her to be happy and if she's happy with him, great. There was one night where she did call and check on my husband and I after we had our first round of vaccines. My husband in conversation let her know that we would not be allowing anyone unvaccinated around the baby when she's born. My Mill had the virus last year and had a very mild case. However, my husband and I checked on her multiple times a day by phone and almost daily in person to make sure she looked all right and bring by anything she may have needed. And she went on this tirade about how we were doing too much. I reminded her that I lost 8 family members at the beginning of the pandemic and we just want to take proper precautions to make sure our baby stays safe, and she flew off on us, which was strange because she was already vaccinated. My husband told her she was being facetious and she made a quip to the effect of, Wonder where you got that word from, directed at me, and she hung up on us. Despite this, we kept in contact still and carried on as normal, or so I thought. But my husband made me aware of a phone call he had with his mom about 2 days later while he was at work where she accused him of being different, and that I changed him and how I took his balls. My husband and I have an even relationship. We don't make decisions without the other's full approval or acceptance of whatever a situation may be. He let her know that regardless of how she feels about anything, she's got to get used to it because I'd be around and wasn't going anywhere. My mill and twin sister were working on planning a baby shower for my husband and we were going to have it at my MIL's house because she's got the indoor and outdoor space for it. Given the current global situation, we wanted to spend as much time outside as possible, but it was planned for August, so access to AC was necessary. My MIL's BF, who doesn't even live with her, made a rule that there could only be 10 ppl at the shower, which basically would exclude my family entirely. When I asked if we could wear masks only when we were inside the house because my mom has cancer, my mill responded with, "I'm not wearing a mask inside my own house," despite the fact that she wears one around her own mother who is sickly, which would put my mom in a situation of having to choose between her own health and her daughter's baby shower, which I was not going to do. I knew then that we needed to just have separate parties, to which she originally agreed. However, during the conversation with my husband about me having his balls, she decided she wasn't going to have anything for us and let him know. She has thrown 2 baby showers for his cousins in years prior that I helped her prepare for. By this time, I sort of took a backseat and stopped interacting as much. She invited us over on Memorial Day and I decided to stay home but encouraged my husband to go, which he did and he had a good time. At this point she pretty much stopped interacting with us, but guilted us into coming to a lil b-day shindig for her BF. We originally were not going to go given that we had not spoken to him since March, and this was in June or July at this point, until my Bill, who also doesn't care for the BF, called asking if we could please go to the BF's b-day because my mill called him crying about how no one was coming. Bill had to be at work and couldn't make it, and she was really upset. My husband decided he would go and I could sit this one out, but my mill called me and sort of cornered me into attending, so I did. We had an okay time. Everyone was polite but there was tension for obvious reasons. By this point, my mill did not know the due date of the baby or the name we chose for her, not because we didn't tell her, even though I was already in the 3rd trimester. She has never called to check on baby or on me, never asked to see a sonogram, never asked for updates and was genuinely uninterested in her first grandchild. Of course my husband took notice and it really hurt him but didn't feel like addressing the issue would resolve anything, and was just really happy that at least my family was super involved. In the middle of August, my family followed through and had a very tiny baby shower for my husband and I. All guests were vaccinated and had a negative COVID test within 2 days of the party per my sister's request since it was at her house, and we had a great time. My mill nor any of my in-laws were invited per my husband's direction given that we agreed to have separate parties and they decided not to have one for us. My mill found out about the baby shower from my Bill just in conversation. My Bill understood why we were doing things the way we were. And so my mill called my husband to let him know she was hurt because we excluded her. Now, keep in mind that she had a little b-day shindig for her BF, but decided against having a small baby shower for her oldest son and her first grandchild. The same PPL who were at his b-day, myself, husband, his uncle, Mill, and BF, would have been at the baby shower, in addition to Bill and his GF. So it was certainly within her abilities to have something. Even after this, she continues not to call and check on baby, ask for photos or any updates. At the beginning of my pregnancy, she offered to buy this really nice baby bath I liked and told me not to include it on my registry because wanted to get it for us. So I didn't include it. It was a bit pricey, but she specifically asked to be the one to purchase that specific item. A few weeks ago, she called my husband and asks for a link to the tub, so he sent it to her and she let him know she'd get it for us. Last week, she gives us a call to let us know the tub is too expensive, even though she knew the price 6 months ago, and was just going to buy the baby some coats instead. This was annoying to me because I could have included the gift on my registry, but she asked me not to include it. My husband and I ended up just buying the tub on our own. IDK if my husband said anything to her, but she did end up giving us the money for the tub. On Monday we had the 3D ultrasound for the baby, and of course we were excited because it's the first glimpse of the baby's face before we have her next month. The 3D image shows that this kid looks exactly like my husband, and of course he was super excited and sent the image to his mom, bro, uncle and her BF. So he felt included, to show them. My mill then calls us and says, I wasn't excited before because of what you all did to me, but now I'm excited, and then went on to say how she'll now go and buy gifts for the baby. I should mention that my husband and I didn't need help from anyone purchasing anything, so we weren't necessarily looking for gifts. But she sends gifts to her BF's grandkids who live in another state often, and they don't even know she exists. Neither do his 3 children. Or his wife. During that conversation, she still didn't remember the baby's name or due date. She has been totally uninterested in being a grandparent and hasn't been involved at all. I just need to know if I ate in any of this. No one has accused me of it, but apparently she wants to talk to me after the baby is born. And I just need to know before she and I fully address this, and if there is anything I need to apologize for or if there was anything I could have done differently.